Coach, congrats on the win. You certainly deserve that one. How did it feel picking up that win last night? What was that like for you and the guys afterwards?
It was exciting for our guys and for our coaches and staff, and just the work that you put in, and after coming off some close games that you thought you should have had coming from Vegas, it just felt good that you kind of get the result because you put the work in. That you able to do that and be able to do it in front of your, on your home court, in front of your fans and the community and supporters.
It did feel like, and Paulie and I were talking about this at the top of the show, there are a lot of similarities between that game and the Houston game. Just really high level from both teams in terms of the intensity, the defensive pressure. It's a tight game. It goes right down to the wire. It really comes down to one possession, tie game. You guys have the ball, and this time you're able to make a play and make a free throw and get out of there with a win. What did you learn collectively, not necessarily you and the coaching staff, but the players as well, going through that experience of the Houston game that maybe applied to last night in the late game situation?
I think after, like you said, that Houston game, I think it was really understanding, we talked about the margins, we talk about the margins of, in those certain situations, you got to make the right decisions and make the right plays. And I thought JJ, again, him and Nate, they both, they just made the right play and Will cashed in. That's how this game goes sometimes. I mean, again, we actually got the foul this time. Last time we didn't get the foul.
Yeah,
but,
right.
We're just making the right play and just really being in that situation. I don't think our guys, they were kind of used to it because we was in that situation similar, both nights. Kansas, the difference was a little, the separation was a little bit bigger, but you still were kind of in the game up until like the last two and a half minutes of that game. So I thought being in those close games out in Vegas really helped us in this game right here.
You mentioned JJ in the play, and he made the right play. He didn't react like he had made the right play when he got the ball to him. Was that, it was the right basketball play, but was there something else drawn up?
No, it was really for him to kind of try to get downhill, get to his pull-up or finish it. But, sometimes, when the basketball instincts sometimes kick in sometimes. And, Will was open on the roll. And I was just hoping that Will could have got off the floor and got the shot off and maybe got the two and then just depend on one free throw. But, again, it was the right play. It was for him to make the decision. If he didn't have it, Will was supposed to, we had another shooter circling behind him just in case.
All right, so it's a 1-point game. Tennessee goes down and calls timeout. Obviously when you're the coach with the ball, you're drawing up a play. When you're the coach and you need a stop, can you share with us kind of what the message is during a timeout like that? I'm sure you're going over options or what you might see. I mean, how do you get your guys ready for a game-saving defensive possession as opposed to drawing up a play to try to win the game offensively?
We talk about our chatter. Our communication has to be at a level 5, especially in those situations. And you kind of had an idea. You knew that either they were going to go to Gillespie, which was their first option, and their second option, because they was having success going inside, that they were going to probably go into carry. So it was really just being on high alert, being able to chatter, communicate, and really just having a stance of and trying not to foul, but just being aggressive if you can and not fouling.
There were a lot of heroes last night, a lot of individual heroes in that game. I guess let's start with the first half and Nate Kings and 19 points in 18 minutes. And, when you signed him, I think we all looked at his stats and we said, wow, this guy is a shooter, right? And we're seeing a lot more, from his game in terms of getting to the basket and the way he could play defense. And I guess, can you speak to how well-balanced, I guess, his game is and his versatility? And it's not just a spot-up shooter. He can do a lot of other things.
Yeah, when we evaluated him, we knew that he was a two-way guy. Obviously, a guy that can really shoot the basketball. I think you guys have heard the word a lot that we tried to add versatility to our team. And I think the versatility part is being able to play on both ends and not necessarily being exceptional in one thing, which he is an exceptional shooter. He's a little different. and we were just thrilled, to be able to get him because we just knew like what you guys finally seen is what we think he would bring to our team. He's a super competitive, super laser focused, and all about the team.
Coach, you also brought in William Kyle, and he's already got more blocks this year than anybody had all of last year for you guys. Maybe you could break down his game, and like you were telling everybody, don't worry about his size. He's going to make up for it.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a guy that we actually tried to get involved with 2 years ago when he transferred out of South Dakota. He wound up going to UCLA. But, when you really look at him, like he's a basketball player, but defensively he's special. He's a disruptor. He's, he just does a lot of things. He could move his feet. He has great timing. I mean, the blocks that he made last night were unbelievable. I mean, he helped and turned back around and blocked the shot. With his left hand. He's just a disruptor, but he has game. Like, he can finish around the basket a little bit more, and I think we got to try to look for him a little bit more down there because he has great touch around the rim.
How about the two freshmen, Kiyan and Sadiq? And you never want to see anybody get hurt, but obviously you've missed JJ for a couple games, and now he's back, and currently without Donnie. And we'll get to Donnie here in a second with you, but as a result, Sadiq's had to play more, and Kiyan got some more time maybe in the early going. Are you seeing that the more that they're on the court, do you like the way they're progressing? And both of them, they didn't have gaudy numbers last night necessarily, although Sadiq did go 10 and 9. But Kiyan 7 points, just kind of stayed within himself, didn't try to do too much. Do you like the way the freshmen are progressing?
I love the way those two are progressing, and they're getting better, understanding what we're doing on both ends, and whether it's offensively, the shot selection, the type of shots that we're looking for, and defensively being able to be able to make some rotations, and the effort and the level 5 effort that they have to have. And I thought they both did that. I mean, Kiyan made some great rotations yesterday, out of our defense, and again, he's a guy that can score the ball. We know he can score the ball now. We're just trying to, continually put him in, what's a good shot, what's a shot that we want to stay away from. And then Sadiq, I love his intensity. I love his athleticism, I thought yesterday he rebounded the basketball like we need him to rebound. And also he can finish around the basket. So I thought we got him the ball around the basket, and he was more active, moving and cutting yesterday offensively. But love the way those two guys are progressing. They are, two big-time freshmen, and they're going to continue to get better and continue to help us.
Coach, you bring up the level 5 a lot, and how do you keep them at level 5 after that win, with the upcoming schedule? And is it important that they do keep it up and that becomes muscle memory moving into ACC?
I think you just said it. You make a muscle when we hop on it. We practice at level 5, and when we're not at level 5, we reset, and we get it going again. It's something that's hard to do, and so when I'm explaining this, about people, is just that, we practice really hard. We practice at a level 5, and we really try to hit that benchmark every time we step on the court, and so, it's something that, that they start to understand how you need to play, how hard you need to play, what that level needs to look like, what that communication chat needs to look like. And that's why it was really so important for us to really pull this win out yesterday against Tennessee, because I thought they did that in Vegas and we just didn't get the results.
I know you were asked about Donnie last night, but we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we didn't ask you if there's any sort of update. And I guess one of the questions that I keep getting, and I'm curious if we can ask you, is is this injury? You've said he's coming back at some point. Is this injury something that will bother him the rest of the season, or do you anticipate when he does come back, he could get back to 100% at some point?
No,
this
we
season?
expect him to be back, 100%. From what I'm hearing from the doctors and information that I'm getting, we expect him to be back 100%. I'll know more about his progression of later on this afternoon when we meet with the doctors and the team gets together. But he's moving well. He's being active. So we expect him to be back.
Coach, you bring up the level 5 on defense. On offense, is there something you're trying to go for? I don't know if you know this or not. The announcers were kind of critical of the offense in Vegas. Is it working the way you want it to work? And, what are you looking for out of your offense?
Yeah, I thought the game that they were critical with, that's a former players, and it's funny, man. Former players, they are very critical when they get the mic behind them. But I thought we got good shots. I thought we didn't make shots, and then in that game in particular, Houston, I thought we got good. We had a good game plan and got the shots that we wanted. We just couldn't cash in on the free throw line. And I thought that was the case for both games and really all the games so far. But our offense is, we have different things that we want to try to, game plan for when we play against different teams. The way they guard things, whether, we got two really good dynamic guards and three dynamic guards actually, and ball screens is something that we use, and, we use that a lot. And we try to do different things of trying to get them in situations. And, William Cowell's an exceptional rim runner and a lob threat. So that puts pressure on the rim and sinks the defense. And so we're trying to get that to kind of cohesively go. And yet, that's the part of our, progress right now where we got to really continue to make strides is on the offensive end. Our defense has to continually get tighter and straighten up, but the defense is good enough to allow us to win. And that's what we want, right? We want to be able to depend on our defense. We want to be able to depend on our defense so we can get our offense going.
How big of a stretch was that against defensive teams for you guys compared to what you're going to face the rest of the year? Will you face a group of four like that again, even if it's spread out?
Yeah, come to mind right now when I watch our league is really good this year. As you can tell, the first day of the ACC SEC Challenge, I think we won 6 or 7 games. The one team that comes to mind that's probably like that is Miami. Very physical team. They got some big guys down there. They remind me of one of those Big 12 SEC teams with athletes. Clemson is always like that. So, yeah, we'll have some more games in our league that will be physical just like that. And our league is really good this year. We'll probably have, 8 to 9 teams, once we start conference play in that Quad 1, Quad 2 vicinity. So our league has really, really done a good job this year.
Last one for me, Coach. Obviously, a great win. Everybody's feeling good. There's got to be a lot of momentum as you head back to practice here in the next day or two. You've got a week off. Does this week off come at a good time? Given the fact that you had that rigorous trip to Vegas and a tough one last night. And again, I guess, what are you trying to get accomplished during this time? Because this might be, the last big break you get for a while here.
Yeah, you got to have that balance of trying to improve. There's a lot of things that we have to improve on and continue to work on, and really, looking at these last 8 games and watching it and seeing where we can improve on, and we have some things in mind. So we'll spend some time improving on that balance of staying game ready and game sharp and trying to improve on both ends of the floor. But it's a lot of stuff out there that we have to get better at. So we'll continue to do that, and we'll still continue to practice at a level 5, stay at a level 5, and try to figure out that balance of staying game sharp and not overdoing it.
All right, Coach. Congrats again on the win. Big one for you and your program. You deserve it. Enjoy it. Good luck this week as you get ready for this next game against St. Joseph's. A week from tomorrow, and we'll chat with you again next week.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
All right, you as well. Adrian Autry joining us here on the show, brought to you every week by Oswego County Mutual. And with that, that's our drive into the second hour, brought to you by Burdick BMW of Cicero. We'll take a time out here. We'll open up the phone lines, 315-437-7644. Matt Park coming your way at 1:30. Back after this on